I'd like to call to order the Middletown City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. If we could start with a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Genku, please call the roll.
Mr. Moon.
Here.
Mr. Muterspaw.
Here.
Mayor Condrey.
Here.
Ms. Nenny. Here. Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Okay, next we have our citizen comments. This evening I have received 3 of them. So if you can come up and state your name and address for the record when you come to the dais, so love to hear you for 4 minutes. The first individual, I guess it looks like we have a couple, Lisa White and Regina Painstein. If you want to come up to the dais.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Lisa White,
I'm Regina Painstein.
and we are with the Feed the Hungry Project. And we wanted to come before you today to tell you a little bit about our upcoming event.
Please state your address for the record as well.
Oh, I am sorry.
No problem.
It is 834 Yankee Road, Middletown.
Thank you. I guess since we've got 2 of you, I'll go ahead and have you state your address as well.
Oh, that was for the Dream
That's
Center.
the
Oh, that's
Dream
the
Center.
Dream Center.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
sounds good.
Yes,
All right,
that
thank
is
you.
for the Dream Center, yes. So we would like to invite you guys to our 15th annual toy drive that will take place on December the 18th. We are the Feed the Hungry Project, and we have collaborated with other organizations in the community for this year's event. We have collaborated with the Holiday Hoopla, DMI, Middletown Library, CBI, BB Rents, and Wetherington's Waves swim team. And we would like to invite the City of Middletown representatives to come out and be a part of our event as we pass out toys to the local members of the community and spread holiday cheer to the families within our Middletown area. So we are open to questions if you guys have any as to a little more about the event and what you can expect.
I'll be there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
What time is the event? I don't.
It starts at 12 noon on December the 18th.
Okay.
From 12 noon to 6 p.m. And we'll have lots of vendors with hot chocolate, popcorn, face painting. It'll be a great time. So we look forward. Yes, lots of elves. So we look
This
forward
is-
to seeing you guys.
This is not at the Dream Center, it's downtown at the
Oh,
ice
yes,
rink.
I'm sorry. It is downtown. It'll be downtown Middletown. Yes.
Right at the ice skating rink.
At the ice skating rink. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this the first year of you all having
No.
this event here at the Hoopla, or?
So this is the first year that we've partnered with Holiday Hoopla, but this is our 15th year hosting the toy drive. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And we are still accepting toy donations also up through the 11th, just so you guys know.
And if someone wanted to make a donation, how would they do that?
You would contact the Feed the Hungry Project, or I can forward my information And, yep, absolutely.
Drop it off to the Dream Center, Feed the Hungry Project.
Maybe you could share that with Missy, our communications director, and she could share that on our Facebook page.
Absolutely, will do. Yes,
you.
thank you.
Next, I have Jeff Payne with DMI.
Jeff Payne, Downtown Middletown, Inc., 1050 Central Avenue, Suite 2750. Good evening. Just want to echo that we are a part of the collaboration for the Holiday Hoopla Feed the Hungry event, and we do anticipate that to be a very fun event. I also wanted to just point out that we also will have our Blitzen, which is our partnership with our downtown restaurants. Tickets are available through the DMI website by going there, and you'll hit Eventbrite. And then and that day is Friday, December 23rd. We think it's going to be a pretty awesome night. And then finally, we just want to thank the city for your support as we went through the Middletown roadmap. We anticipate that we'll be receiving that written report here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. For those who did not get a chance to see the presentation, it's about 50 minutes long, so it is kind of long, but you can go to the DMI website, and when you hit the landing page, there is a link to that YouTube. So just want to say thanks. All right, have a great evening.
Great, thank you. The last citizen comment I have is Jordan Wallace.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Jordan Wallace, 5080 Spectrum Drive with the Atticus Multifamily Project. Just wanted to thank council again. Whenever we originally brought this multifamily project to the table as a refresher, back in September, council approved us to proceed forward with a planned development on 243 units on the northwest corner of Market and Union. We've made tremendous success with the project, and actually last month we're able to go through planning commission for approval. It's been really a great experience working with city staff. I just have to commend city manager's office and also planning development as well, helping us get through that process. And it's been a very smooth process for us. And we're now to the point of approval on the process. And from a feasibility standpoint, we're trying to get this thing over the finish line. And in order for us to do that, given the current climate we're in from a cost standpoint, we're battling inflation, interest rates, supply issues, and all the above. And so one of the requests that we had brought originally to the city manager was a request to waive the city sewer impact fees. We believe that this cost is not to align more money in our pockets, but to bring the original project that you'll see there on some of the renderings and the quality that we want to deliver to the town. You know, we made a commitment to bring a nice, high-quality multifamily project to this area. We want to continue to keep that commitment with our original discussions, and I believe that this is a request that we believe is fair and reasonable, and we'd like your consideration for that.
Great, thank you. I think we've gotten some information about what that cost would be from city manager, so we'll have a chat about it and I suppose get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
If we were to waive the fees or a portion of the fees, what specifically would that?
We don't our rules actually state in citizen comments that we can't have dialogue.
Oh, direct
Certain-
dialogue. Okay.
Not that I don't want to, but that's why I'm looking at you like I kind of want to, but
Sure.
I think I would be remiss to do so. Would that be?
I feel like we've done it before, have we not?
What if we did it in council comments?
We could. Yeah, if someone wanted to bring them up in council comments, they could do that.
Hate to set a precedent for.
Yeah, that's
Sure,
why
I think that's appropriate. Just high level, overall, this is a $50 million investment in the commercial and multifamily aspect. I think it's a tremendous investment to Middletown, also Warren County. And I think you've heard enough and seen my face enough. I think y'all believe we're going to stick to our commitment to providing a quality project for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
The map definitely puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay. Well, that brings us to council comments. Mr. Farrell, would you like to start?
Would you like to come to the dais? I have nothing else to say. So, if I'm correct, you're essentially asking for a $32,000 a waiver.
Yes, Public Works is estimated that right now. I wouldn't hold us to that figure. I know we're in plan review right now, but roughly right now, that's the estimate they provide.
Okay, what would that money go towards? If we were to give you that waiver, how would you then reinvest that into this project?
So a lot of what we're really trying to incorporate is energy efficient building materials, so low flow water fixtures, also Energy Star efficient appliances, higher insulation factors, better building envelope as a whole. So as our goal is to get utility costs down, right? So that's one facet of this. Not to just put this in one bucket, but we're also making a commitment to, as we originally discussed, we're doing an enhanced landscaping around the site. We're putting a dog park as an outdoor feature there, which we show on our site plan currently. Also, we're doing dog yards on the first floor. And then we also have an improved amenity center that we've spent a lot more time. Where we first met in September, we actually, I think we've really added a lot to the space as far as resident experiences and kind of incorporating a lot of community aspects to it.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah, sure.
And for utility efficiency, I mean, when you talk about that, what I think about are the actual residents, the people who would be citizens of Middletown, who would be paying those utilities, who would be members of your community. Just to confirm for that, those utilities are going to be the responsibility of the renters in this complex.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I think that just speaks to looking out for the the residents, so.
Something I learned in researching this is if you go back to, United States has always had the same amount of congressmen, but if you go back to 1960, we had 24, 1980 we had 22, in 2000 we had 19, in 2002 we had 18, today we have 16. So essentially Ohio has lost a third of our congressmen over the last 60 years. So it's exciting to see these types of projects come in to add more housing to the area, because that's obviously something that we need. So it's exciting for me.
Just for clarity, I believe the Planning Commission already met and approved a waive of the park impact fees,
That is correct.
They
Which-
did that at the last regular meeting.
which equates to $120,000. Is that?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. And are you also going to the county for requests?
So we are having conversations with Warren County. Nothing has been set in stone. As you may or may not be aware, their water impact fees are close to $1 million, making this project very much a challenge. But, I think globally, I think we're probably the ones taking, whenever we started this process back in March earlier this year, I think it was a different environment, it was a different world. But it's the same project, and we're not compromising the project.
Well, are there any other requests from the county or that you're going to be asking of the county?
Of Warren County?
Yes.
We're currently speaking, right now we've been rejected. We spoke with Economic Development, we were rejected as far as any kind of assistance there. And so right now we're just kind of taking it one step at a time.
Okay.
Is it still going to be a private drive, or is it a public drive, or am I misremembering?
It's a private drive. So the overall development, just to familiarize, I should have printed off more of a site plan there, but there's a commercial use of 1.7 acres on the hard corner there. and then 243 units that's just behind that. I hope that rendering, I probably should have printed off a site plan to give you a little bit more detail.
For reference, the Planning Commission did approve the park impact fee at the last meeting that I attended, and a lot of their reasoning behind that was in reference to so park impact fees are essentially charged because of the increase of residences to a certain neighborhood, and so the park impact fee is supposed to offset the additional use in those parks or additional need for an increase or improvement to those parks in that neighborhood. And a lot of what Planning Commission had determined was that because this development was really self-enclosed, and would be a lot of younger professionals in that the park impact fee would not necessarily be needed, just because it's all, because the need for more park space or green space is included in this development. That was sort of their reasoning, was that there was enough green space and enough park included in the development that we didn't need the impact fee. So just to sort of provide some insight to what they discussed at Planning Commission when they approved that park impact fee.
Okay.
Do we want to, it's up to you, Mayor, but do we want to discuss our thoughts on this, or should we do that at a later time? Or
I would say let's save that for new business, just so that we don't bog down the current agenda, if you're okay with that.
yeah, that's fine. Sounds good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess that's all I have.
Okay. Ms. Nenny.
Thank you. With respect to time tonight, I won't take too much of it. I just want to thank everyone who was involved in the Santa Parade. It was, it's a shorter parade than some of our summer parades, but it was full of fun, and there were a lot of community members there and a lot of people who came out to celebrate the holidays, and having Kyle Schwarber there as our Grand Marshal for the parade was really exciting for everyone who was there. Tal and I walked right in front of him, and no one was excited to see us. They were all very excited to see Kyle. They all had on their jerseys, and they were waving and screaming at him. And so it was my very esteemed pleasure to present him with a proclamation so eloquently written by Amy, as always, and to present him on behalf of City Council and the Mayor with a key to the city. So I just appreciate everyone who was involved with that and who came out to support the Santa Parade and downtown. And
I had no idea that that was done.
yeah, I knew you were out of town, but it was a request made of the city, and so I was happy to do that on your behalf on the
In the
Santa
future,
Parade.
I would like to know that that's happening. Yeah.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you. I can always adjust plans if needed.
That's all I have for today.
Okay. Mr. Moon.
Yes, I would echo everything Monica said. I won't say it as well as you did, but thanks to the Mormons, thanks to all the volunteers and the participants in the Santa Parade. It's always a parade we look forward to every year, and certainly thanks to Kyle and his family for being in the parade, being here, and all they do in the community with Midway and otherwise. Also want to extend my appreciation to Tyler Roberts. For those of you that didn't join us at 4:30 for our work session, he was here to talk about a potential partnership between the city and Atrium Y for an aquatic center out there, and we'll talk and think a little bit more about that, but I appreciate the time and effort he's put into researching that, and that's all I have.
Mr. Muterspaw.
Attended a really cool Arts Foundation fundraiser at Bandanas with Councilman Farrell. Had a great time. Got to see a lot of people in Middletown for a good cause. The Arts Foundation is pretty phenomenal thing. So really excited about that. Also, the other thing I have is pretty excited. Middy's boys and girls basketball both beat Hamilton this week. So Chief Burke, if you would let Chief Burkheit know he owes me lunch. Okay. So it's always good to beat your rivals. So anytime Middletown can beat Hamilton at something, we're pretty happy about that. You can quote me on that, Rick. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. I just had another request. I want to reiterate a request that the board and commission minutes record which board members are voting which way. I just noted the planning commission minutes just continue to state the motion was approved through roll, and it helps me personally when I read through them to know who's voting yes and no. So It's not a requirement, obviously, in minutes, but I'm just expressing a desire that it's helpful personally. And then I did want to make sure everyone knew we have our State of the City addresses tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. There's a lot of video segments, so it's going to be kind of fun to include a very special debut of a song about Middletown, written and performed by the Central Academy third graders. So you're not going to want to miss it. It's pretty cool, and look forward to seeing people tomorrow, and I'm sure we're going to be recording it for YouTube as well. Is that true? We'll figure that out.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's all I have this evening. That brings us to city manager reports.
Just three quick things. Once, as it was said, thank you to the Mormons, Linda Mormon, for the organization of the Santa Parade. As you've heard me say before, there's certain things in Middletown that are gems, and that's certainly one of them. Second thing is holiday whoopla seems to be going down. A lot of people are taking advantage of it. So citizens, if you can get down there, take advantage of it. And then, of course, light up Middletown, another gem. If you get an opportunity, that's just fantastic. And that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to consent agenda. Ms. Skink, will you please present that for us?
For your consideration this evening, we have the approval of the City Council minutes of May the 3rd, 2022. To receive and file the Board and Commission minutes of the Board of Zoning Appeals, September 7th, 2022. The Planning Commission, October 12th, 2022. The Civil Service Commission, October 20th, 2022. To receive and file oaths of office for Karen Hoyt, Ketlin Painter, and Riley Wilson. And to confirm the personnel appointments for Landry Floor to the position of Corrections Officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, and John Deaton to the position of Process Control Supervisor in the Public Works Department, Division of Water Reclamation.
I would like to motion that the matters listed under the consent agenda be considered routine and enacted by one motion and one vote of consent.
Second?
Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Muederspaw.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
For the motion agenda, we have to approve the renewal of the city's stop-loss health insurance coverage for 2023 with Optum Insurance.
So moved for approval.
Second.
I don't have anything to add unless you have specific questions.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder, you'll be presenting legislation this evening.
I will, yes, thank you. So on the agenda tonight, you've got 12 total items listed, 9 of which are being proposed for passage as first reading emergencies. So before I get started, I just request a motion to waive the charter provisions pertaining to second readings and effective dates on emergency measures, that being specifically items number 2 through 10.
All right, I would like to make a motion that resolution number R 2022-46, resolution number R 2022-47, ordinance number O 2022-116, resolution number R 2022-48, resolution number R 2022-49, resolution number R 2022-50, resolution number R 2022-51, ordinance number O 2022-117, and ordinance number O 2022-118 be considered an emergency measure and read one time only.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Thank you. So first item is ordinance number O 2022-114. It's an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Phoenix Safety Outfitters for the purchase of police uniforms. This is a second reading.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
No further comment.
Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Skink, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Thank you. Second item is resolution number R 2022-46. A resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, State of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. This is year-end various funds.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
No further comments unless you have questions.
Any comments or questions from council? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Thank you. Third item is resolution number R 2022-47, a resolution authorizing a transfer of funds subject to repayment from the general fund to the solid waste disposal fund and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Once again, no further information.
Comments or questions from council? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Fourth item on the agenda is ordinance number O 2022-116, an ordinance authorizing the amendment of a contract with Rumpke of Ohio, Inc. for refuse collection and disposal and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Once again, no further comments from last month.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Fifth item is resolution number R 2022-48, a resolution authorizing transfers from the Central Avenue Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Fund, 2018 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Fund, 2019 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Fund, 2020 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Fund, and 2021 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Fund to the general fund for repayment of prior year advances and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
This is just repayment to the general fund for past year's sidewalk and curb cutter repair, putting $260,119 back into the general fund.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Sixth item is resolution number R 2022-49, a resolution authorizing a transfer of funds subject to repayment from the general fund to the 2022 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Fund, Program Fund, and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Council, this is for the general fund to get a loan of $500,000 for curb work for local street repair. This decreases the general fund by $500,000, however, as previously will be repaid.
Comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Seventh item is resolution number R 2022-50, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations from current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, State of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency. This is year-end various funds.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Council, this is for general fund budget cleanup. There'll be no change to the projected year-end balance of the general fund.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Eighth item is resolution number R 2022-51, a resolution establishing the Butler County ARPA Fund and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
So, Council, this is to establish the paperboard ARPA fund. We've received the monies, and you'll be given a report hopefully by the first of next week on what the process will be going forward to get that blight cleaned up as soon as we can.
All right. Comments or questions? I know we're excited about that one. Okay, Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Muederspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Ninth item is ordinance number O 2022-117, an ordinance accepting the assignment of a purchase and sale agreement between Woodard Development LLC and Henry K. Fischer and Elaine M. Fischer, trustees of the Fischer Family Foundation, U-A, October 10th, 2008, for the purchase of approximately 29.56 acres of land located at the southeast corner of Union Road and State Route 122 and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
I'm going to lateral the ball here to Assistant Manager Cahall.
Thank you, Mr. Lally. Before you tonight is legislation that would accept the assignment of a purchase agreement for the 29 acres listed in the resolution, or excuse me, the ordinance that has been put under contract by Ascent Realty / Woodard Development. This is directly adjacent or abutting what we would call the Bender track that the city purchased probably about 15 or so years ago, is partially developed. This would call for the city to assume that contract and all of its negotiated obligations, including its need to finalize some due diligence, deposit at least one, if not two, tranches of earnest money, and then close on the property late July, early August of next year.
Just a comment. As we alluded to a few weeks ago, our ice and entertainment project is continuing to move forward at a new location. We're certainly not closing the door on working with the mall owner on any redevelopment of the town mall property, but certainly further development of the 122 corridor is going to be helpful in making reinvestment at the town mall more likely. Did want to thank our staff and Woodard Development for arranging for the new site. Planning goes back many months. There's still significant work that needs to be done, and this site provides us an opportunity to continue working on this transformational ice and entertainment project we started over a year ago. So thanks to you all.
If you're looking for a good backdrop about the story, Mr. McCrabb did write a pretty good synopsis of it today. So, any other comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw?
Yes.
10th item is ordinance number O 2022-118, an ordinance authorizing amendment to Amendment 2 to the agreement with Community Center Partners, LLC for the development consulting services related to the sports and entertainment complex development project and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Mr. Lawley / Cahall.
Let you keep the ball, Nathan.
Sounds like a plan to me, sir. In conjunction with the previous ordinance that you folks just passed, we, as the city, engaged with Community Center Partners earlier this year for pre-development work and due diligence assistance related to the town mall redevelopment project that has at least temporarily been put on hold. With the city pivoting to the new location, as Mr. Moon alluded to, there's some additional work as part of that project that would exceed what we currently still have left unspent out of the original CCP contract. And so this legislation tonight would be your folks' authorization to take whatever remaining funds that are still left on that contract and add a little bit more to the pot to finish that due diligence, pre-development, and also the bond financing work, assuming that the project goes forward ultimately later next year.
Any comments or questions from council? Okay, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Muterspaw?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Item 11 is ordinance number O 2022-119, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to grant an access easement to Justin R. King for parcels adjacent to 1614 and 1616 First Avenue and declaring an emergency. No actions requested until the December 20th meeting.
Mr. Lawley.
So council, this parcel here, there's actually three parcels at 1614 and 1616 First Avenue. You may recognize this as being in front of Rick's Auto Repair. Essentially, back in like 1953, when they widened First Avenue, the city gained easement, or the city gained possession of those easements. They're trying to sell these two properties, and in the title search to do so, it was found that the city actually owns that part. So to be able to, for this sale to go through, we need to allow the city manager to sign the easement access. And I think also maybe we'll also look at this here in the near future to turning this property over to the owner there. I don't really see there's any reason we need to keep it.
Any comments or questions on this one? Okay, we're ready for the next item.
Thank you. 12th and final item is Resolution R 2022-52, a resolution requesting the auditor of Butler County to advance to the treasurer of the City of Middletown, Ohio, taxes assessed and collected for and on behalf of the City of Middletown, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. No action till the 20th.
This will be to allow us for the collection of property taxes as soon as possible.
If there are no comments or questions, that is the end of our legislation this evening and brings us to new business. Are there any items anyone would like to bring to new business? You know, it's only 6:06, right? Okay, just
Would we
checking.
like to discuss the Atticus project?
Oh, okay. What would you like to discuss about the Atticus project, Mr. Farrell?
Would council like to, I guess, discuss the waiving of the sewer tap fees? I would like to discuss it. I'm not saying one way or another that we allow it, but I feel like we should discuss it.
And I'm interested in further discussing it. I think part of that discussion is about precedents, and so I think that is maybe something that Nathan or Paul could speak to, if you can. If not, maybe that's something that we can learn a little bit more about, just for similar types of developments and housing developments. How have we handled sewer tap and fees in the past?
I just think whatever policy council sets, we need to be consistent.
So I have.
I think the last time the last time I asked about it, I know we talked about Sawyer's Mill received a sewer tap-in waiver. You have a list
those
of.
answers, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So in Sawyer's Mill, for each house, we give a $5,000 waiver. And ultimately that neighborhood, it has 300 built right now ish. 455 total is how many it's allotted for. So overall, we will waive $2,275,000. When Nicholas Place was put in, there's 216 units. They waived $21,600. So essentially, they waived $100 per unit there.
So what is it per unit?
What is the ask here? They're asking for.
They're asking, if you break it down, $132 per unit.
Per unit.
Yeah, and I think too,
For
Scott, you
higher
can
end
correct me if I'm
finishes
wrong.
and a higher end development.
Yes.
Some of it depends too how they have to do the tap in, how they have to run the sewer. Am I correct?
I mean, at what point do we just not charge it? I mean,
So before,
Who's
they
having to
never
pay?
charged it until.
Well, I mean, when we do infill new construction, are we waiving sewer tap and fees for those? I don't think we are for that.
If there was previously a house on that lot, we don't charge a sewer
Okay.
tap-in fee. But in theory, I think we could for an infill, like, for example, the Hill discussion. I mean, I think we would have charged them, well, they were asking for them to be waived, but, so the sewer connection fee is based on the domestic water meter size. So as of now, the way they have the plans, they show a 6-inch domestic water meter serving all 10 buildings. I don't know if that's going to work. That's really up to the chief building official. So if not, it's possible they could have to have separate meters for each building. I think a minimum of 1.5 inch, and a 1.5 inch fee is $7,000. So it could be as much as 7,000 times 10 buildings. So the fee, depending on how they end up metering it, anywhere from 35,000 to 70,000 for the whole development.
Scott, what is the cost to the city for sewer tap-in? Like, what kind of cost do we incur that we're charging?
It's just
for?
overall maintenance and upgrade of the system.
So like when
you know,
we
we're
have to
spending-
replace meters,
Well,
and we've
that
got
and
these costs.
millions of
that
dollars
occur.
improvements at the treatment plants, replacing and rehabilitating the system overall. I mean, we're spending many millions of dollars now doing that.
So I guess the question is, in a brand new house, if I'm building a house at 123 Grand Avenue, what is the cost to the city on that one?
I mean, that's hard to sort of calculate. I mean, the fee for like a residential house like that is $3,500 for water, $3,500 for sewer, like in a new.
Right, but what is, I
I
understand.
mean, it's really more goes towards all the money we've spent over the years upgrading the system.
Right.
and
All those
upgrading-
big bills we get from
Yes.
you about all the things that we
Correct.
need to replace and improve and
So, I mean, our fees are very, you know, I think the developer pointed out, I mean, Warren County's water fee's $1 million for that site. I mean, that's, you know, our fees are very,
how often does the county typically waive those fees?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly. I don't know if they do. I think it's really the prerogative of individual communities and how they,
Do we know, is the project dependent upon Warren County waiving their fee? I mean, it looks like they left.
It's not.
It's not, okay.
Yeah, I think he said no.
so.
The good thing for them is rates went down over the last few weeks, like 1.5%. So that put them back into the ability, because from the numbers that I kind of understand, I don't know that it was going to go through unless the rates did fall, which they did.
Well, the manager asked for consistency, and you clearly said Nicholas Place and Sawyer's were what they did. I don't know, that's not, I think it's pretty consistent.
What about,
I mean-
what about Fisher Homes, Renaissance? What about Waynedale Meadows?
I think I
kind of a
provided
hot
some
topic.
It
information.
is, it is, yeah.
Prior to, we typically didn't waive those fees prior to that Nicholas Place
Oh,
and
okay.
Sawyer's Mill. I think there was some, you know, I think at the time, desire to promote more housing development.
And if you go back historically, the city actually didn't charge these
Right,
fees until
till early 2000s. However, there was something different in place. At one time, there were like these sewer districts throughout town.
okay.
It just wasn't, so like if you developed in a certain area, they sort of calculated a number per lot for that area. In early 2000s, it was just all consolidated into one.
Was that based on proximity to?
I think it was probably based on the
Stations or-
necessary infrastructure costs to serve that area. I don't know how it was probably more closely calculated what the actual cost to serve that area would be.
So not,
or to
not
pay the
necessarily
necessary.
need-based, but
Right,
necessity-based.
right. So it just depends sort of from development. I mean, some developers have had to pay the cost of extending off-site sewers to their property too, plus sewer connection fees.
And people forget Renaissance started like the early 2000s.
Yes.
People forget how old it is. I remember my parents, like, I remember driving through that neighborhood when I was in, I think, maybe elementary school. So it's older than people think.
So in fact, I think they had to pay some extra fees for the city extending infrastructure all the way out to, if you remember Fenwick, we built the sewer all the way out to
Right.
Fenwick.
They're just not getting it back per unit, per se.
So, I mean,
I think it's
was
appropriate to have a
supposed to win in
legislation item in which we
2005.
vote upon it, and we can,
Okay.
we can at least,
Have that debate and make that decision as a legislative item.
for the next meeting.
Yeah, I think Zach and Scott gave me information that enlightened me, that I didn't know, so, yeah.
I think that at least allows them a fair judgment from us of whether we approve or disapprove, and,
Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
at least
Is
put
that
it to a
okay?
vote.
Yep. I think that was the plan, if council so chooses to direct staff to have legislation for the next council meeting, we can do such. And I think we might have a better understanding of what the actual sewer tap-in cost will be. Maybe it could be a situation where we say it's up to
Up to, but not.
$70,000 if
exceed.
we have a better idea. Because
Or
they
per
presented the
unit.
plans yesterday. Okay. So I think we'll have a little bit better of idea of what the tap-in fee will actually be.
And will that be a per unit waiver, or I guess you guys will decide that?
Yes, we can. I mean,
I
Not
would
sure.
prefer, if we were going to do that, I would do it per unit, because if the developer is unable to perhaps build as much as they originally said, I wouldn't want that to impact.
it's a good idea.
Well,
Sounds
you
like
know, I
per
think
unit, and then to
it's like 0.06% of their development. So
It's not going
if
to make.
if
Right,
it's
but if they
gonna, if
started cutting
$32,000 is gonna,
just if we're setting a precedence, I
Yeah.
think since in
And
the
that's-
past we've done it by per unit, how much we were going to waive per unit, I think if we were going to set a precedence, that helps to align us with that. I also was curious, are we going to be seeing this as an emergency legislative item or an emergency second reading legislative item? I'm sure that they have time constraints.
yeah, they
to
do
their
have
development.
time constraints, and I gotta evaluate that.
They close in January. He called me earlier, and they close in January on their commercial loan per se. So that means they're going to have their capital
need to
stacked
know.
beforehand.
So I guess it would be an
Be a
emergency.
single reading emergency
Yes.
for the next meeting. Okay.
And I know how these darn developers work. They're going to do the project one way or another. It's just, are we going to give the future citizens of Middletown better efficiency? There is really what it's going to come down to in my mind. They're going to upgrade windows. They're going to put more efficient to save on water, those types of things. So that's really what it comes down to for me.
General, same topic. One thing I am interested in, because this issue just seems to come up very frequently. I would be curious if staff has internally, I don't expect you to come back down, Scott, just food for thought. Have we reviewed these water tap fees, sewer tap fees compared to our regional partners? Because it just seems like it might be something just to look at broadly. Does it need to be more? Does it need to be less? Do we need to, I'd be interested in that at some point in the future.
And do other cities have specific policies in place for dealing with similar issues?
We'll have development services look at that. They did start to look at that. It does seem like over the last 5-6 years, they're doing it a lot more. I think
Yeah, over the last
Councilman
5,
Farrell
6
shared that with us also.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. From my experience, I mean, not that I'm.
And it's a tough atmosphere right now for a lot of these developers. They're having to look at a lot of places where they can save every penny to maximize.
It's a tough atmosphere for the
You know.
city, too. We're spending a lot of money on a lot of different things as well.
Yeah,
Across the
and I
board,
get it.
everybody.
That's something we have to look at because, I don't doubt, and I can probably tell you, we're going to bring legislation sometime in 2023 to raise sewer and water fees. So,
Any other comments on that one or new business items if we're ready for other items? That's it. Okay, well, we have a request then to move to executive session under the authority of ORC 121.22G1 to consider the appointment, employment, or compensation of a public employee or official, and under the authority of ORC 121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage, and under the authority of ORC 121.22G4, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. Do we have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Gank, you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Farrell,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Muederspaw,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes. Okay, and we will come back into open session only for the purpose of closing the meeting out, as far as I'm aware. We have our State of the City tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. here, and after that, our next meeting is December 20th at 5:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.